Good evening and welcome to Monday Night Live. I'm Eric Choka and we're coming from Earth Matters here in New York City. Tonight's show is really a great one. It's about the quality of your water, and we have a special guest, Nimeesha Bulsara. She is a hydrogeologist. She's going to be telling us about her work and some of the discoveries she's made that affects the risk of the water supply in the U.S. and really has global implications. And we also, later in the show, we're going to have a piece with my co-host, Alan Steinfeld. He's going to be introducing Jim, the water guy, Artress. And he's going to tell you about some great technology for getting the best water in your home or in your business. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Nimeesha Bulsara. Hi, Nimeesha. Thanks for being on the show. It's really an honor to have you.
Oh, it's great to be here, Eric, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
All right, well, I'm sure that a lot of people are wondering, what is a hydrogeologist? Could you tell us what that is?
Hydrogeology is the study of groundwater, and groundwater is very important. Most of the world rely on groundwater for their drinking water, and groundwater is also used for agricultural use and for industrial use. So it's really important, and
so your work really impacts like many cross sections of society.
Right.
Is that I imagine that's not something you were thinking of as a kid. Like, how did you get into this career?
Well, I got a bachelor's of science in geological engineering, and I took a class in hydrogeology, which is a required class, and it became my favorite subject, and I decided to take a master's in hydrogeology. And I got very lucky with my professors, and my advisor is a brilliant academic, and I did a wonderful thesis. So.
Right.
It turned out very well for me.
And that thesis, is that where you made a discovery about the risk to our water supply?
Yes. It's no exaggeration at all to say that we found probably the most important groundwater contamination problem. We didn't know what we would find, but that's what we found.
Wonderful. Yeah. Great. So tell us, what did you find?
Well, I did a study on a chemical called ethylene dibromide. My thesis was to find if, to discover if ethylene dibromide was in the groundwater from leaking underground storage tanks. And
why ethylene dibromide, which I think you said is EDB.
Right.
What's so unique about EDB? Why is it such a danger?
Well, ethylene dibromide was added as a lead scavenger to leaded gasoline to prevent engine fouling, and it is highly, highly toxic. The maximum contaminant level goal is 0, which means we should have none of it at all.
So anything above none is bad. And
yeah.
What was it about the National Institute of Health? Was it
right? The National Cancer Institute have stated that it is potentially the most carcinogenic chemical yet found from animal studies.
Most carcinogenic.
Yes.
And this is something that's actually a hazard to groundwater.
Yes, anywhere that leaded gasoline was stored. Not only was EDB used in leaded gasoline, it was also used in agricultural use, for fumigants, solvents, so it's everywhere, not just in the US, but anywhere it was used all over the world. And not the real disturbing thing is that it's still used today.
So we are here in New York City, and I've been in New Yorker my whole life. Do I have to worry about something like EDB if I get a glass of water? I mean, what's the deal with tap water here in New York? Is that a possible exposure there?
Well, my thesis found that at the time that I wrote it, that only 8 states were testing for it at the time, which was in 2004.
You mean up to that time, it was
yes.
like next to no states testing for this?
Right,
All right.
and it's probably the similar situation right now. You know, because the states are not testing for it, we don't know.
But what you did find in South Carolina was one
Yes.
of those states, right?
Yes. South Carolina is one of the few states testing for EDB, and they gave me unprecedented access to their files. So I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours going through files and got all these paper cuts on my hands and going through their database, and I found some results, and they've been testing for EDB for a few years. And
So what was the result that you found?
Okay, so we could go to the first slide, and I have some numbers there. Okay, so we had 1,230 sites that we tested for EDB, and of those sites, we found 366 with EDB. Now these sites are the ones that had spill reports. Any the spill of, you know, any site that's, it could be an old spill too.
Right,
Yes.
so like looks like 30% of those
Yeah.
had EDB they discovered at these sites.
Right, and of those, 24.2 had EDB above the maximum contaminant level. Now, the maximum contaminant level is not necessarily a safe level. The reason why they have that number, its maximum contaminant level for EDB is 0.05 micrograms per liter. 1 microgram per liter is a millionth of a gram.
All right, so
Yeah.
I was trying to figure this out before, and you were saying that anything above the maximum contaminant level
Yes.
is what they don't want. It has to be
Yes.
below.
Yes.
So anything above like half a
Yes.
microgram, a millionth of a gram, they
Right.
consider it a carcinogenic situation
Yes.
or potential danger
For this particular chemical,
because it's so deadly.
right. The true indication is the maximum contaminant level goal. Now, the reason why they have it at 0.05 micrograms per liter is because the lab technology is not sensitive enough to go below 0.05 micrograms per liter. So
Okay,
that's
so it's like the lowest they can possibly measure
Right.
is like where it has to be below.
right,
Wow.
right.
All right, so what else can you tell us about the result of doing this study?
Well, I mean, you can see that this is a very high level of EDB in the groundwater. Now, if we use South Carolina as a reflection of the rest of the country, it could be in many places. So
Right.
now the EPA were involved with my research, and they went ahead and investigated 19 other states.
I think I have a picture of
Yeah.
that. So they did an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the cover for that.
Right.
And in that investigation, they have 19 states.
Yes.
And how many states did they find EDB exposure?
All of them.
All the states. Okay.
And then the numbers correlated with what I found. And 17 out of 19 states, they had EDB levels above the MCL. Now, my issue here is, why are they not routinely testing for EDB in the groundwater?
Right.
And that is
Now,
that's-
I guess the government needs to get involved, and
Mhm.
like if they're in a town, you can ask the town, the mayor, or the city council
Right.
to check it out. I mean, they need this information to act, right?
Well, the EPA are the government.
So the
part of
EPA is right.
The
They're
EPA,
the first step.
right? I mean, they're the governing environmental agency.
Okay, and what is the EPA supposed to do for us? I mean, they get taxpayer money, right?
Right? They get about $7 billion of the taxpayer money. So, well, they routinely test for chemicals like xylene, which is not even a proven carcinogen. And why? And
So now they should be. Well, okay, now
Right.
they did this study.
right?
Now we have to see what comes of that.
Yes. Now I have to. I should say that these views are my own personal views.
Right.
Right? They're not, my professor's views or anybody else. These are my own personal views.
But
So-
as a hydrogeologist,
as a
you know,
hydrogeologist, I
Right.
have a few issues with this. So, I would like to invite the EPA to have open, honest discussions about this.
okay, so like they did the study, and what's one of the things that you have an issue about?
So, in this issue that you showed the cover, they have a term called relative exposure index. That is a term I have never heard before, and they've calculated it based on the number of shallow wells. Now,
So they
In my
limited
opinion-
it
yes.
to shallow wells
Right.
versus all groundwater.
yes, and they've said that municipal water is usually from deep aquifers. Now, take New York, for example. The water comes from the Catskills watershed,
Right.
which runs into the Delaware River. Now, this is runoff water, and this runoff water is shallow water, and this water is obviously going to come through some leaking underground storage tanks and agricultural waste and all of that. So,
Right, so
I-
shallow water is
Yes.
actually partially flowing into the
Right.
overall water supply.
Right. However, the river does have some other issues, and maybe EDB is cleansed away in some way, but we don't have the data. So I have an issue with how they can make that sweeping statement that municipal water comes from deep aquifer.
It's really amazing.
Aquifers.
Right. And there was an article in today's paper. In the morning, I like to check the newspapers online. And in the New York Post, coincidentally, they had an article that says, "City fears gas H2O." Because, and I'm just going to read this to you. Drilling may taint tap water. A massive natural gas reserve lies under this rural region and is a potential cash cow for strapped farmers in the area. A guaranteed disaster for New York City's drinking supply, opponents say. Dozens of landowners in the region 120 miles northwest of the city and in the heart of the Catskills they've already signed lease deals with energy companies that could open their land to drilling. But there's one major hitch. Given that the Big Apple draws most of its water from in and around the Catskills, city officials are worried about the expected natural gas boom edging into their watershed. Quote, "This is a particularly extreme example of something that absolutely, positively cannot take place within the confines of the watershed," said City Councilman James Gennaro. He's the chairman of the Environmental Protection Committee here in New York. The process called hydrofracking, that's a real word, requires millions of gallons of water, a portion of which comes back up and is stored temporarily on the site before being treated. So when they're doing this hydrofracking and to release the natural gas, millions of gallons of water are being exposed to this process And whatever comes out of the ground, they have to treat it. They have to hold it aside and treat it. So what about all the other water underground that's not addressed in this article? But I can see here that people are worried about anything going on near the watershed. So it must prove that there's a possible danger there.
Right. I mean, the dirty water is going to come to the surface because they're going to use water to fracture the Marcellus shale formation. And then this water that will come to the surface is close to the Catskill reservoirs. Now, they found some gas there, and the way they get it out is through hydrofracking. But you know, I'm an environmental activist, and there are much better ways to get gas. You know, sustainable ways. I have worked at a landfill where I drilled for monitoring wells to monitor the leachate, and we once hit something that, like the decomposing waste, and it started to vent gas.
Okay.
And we thought we'd hit a utility pipe, but it was the decomposition of the landfill waste. So we can make use of that kind of gas.
Okay, so
it's
there's many sources to get fuel safely, or safer, I should say.
Right.
All right. So, but getting back to our topic about the leaching of EDB into the groundwater.
Right.
How does that happen? How does EDB get into our groundwater?
Well, before we had regulations, it was not that long ago. Nearly all, I would, estimate, storage tanks leaked.
You have a slide on that, right?
I think, yes. Let's go to the next slide. Yes, I have a spill site conceptual model. This was drawn by my professor, Dr. Falter, my advisor. So, as soon as the petroleum is out of the ground, it starts to leak. I mean, it was from the moment it's mined. Okay, this spill site, you could see where it's spilling. It's spilling at the gas pump. It's spilling where they fill the tank. It's spilling from the tank itself.
And also, how about the EDB? How does that leach out? Is it, you were saying something about its solubility?
Right. So I have a slide of some numbers. We go to the gasoline chemical chart. Now I'm comparing here benzene with EDP. You see that because benzene is usually the chemical of concern, and you see that EDP is far more soluble than benzene, and
it's about 3 times. It looks.
Yeah. And its cancer risk is far greater.
Okay. All right. So, what can people do, about this situation?
Well, at the very minimum, you should have a granular activated carbon filter. It's very effective at getting rid of EDB. So, have one in your kitchen for your drinking water. If you choose, if you drink from the tap.
I have one.
And one for your shower.
One for the shower. Why for the shower?
Because there are 3 ways to get exposure to chemicals. One is ingestion, one is inhalation, and one is dermal contact. And in the shower, you will inhale the fumes because the water is hot. And the dermal contact is, well, most people don't know that, but chemicals go right through your skin.
Right, like I know they have patches for drugs and even nutrition, like vitamins they give through patches as well. So we have Jim Artress. Jim, the water guy, is going to tell us a little bit about that in a moment. And I think that if you're concerned about the quality of the water for yourself and for your community, see what you can do to get in touch with your city representation and bring this to their attention. And for your own home, certainly look into getting carbon activated filters for drinking and for showering. So Nimeesha, is there anything else you'd like to tell our viewers?
I would like to say that we should all take responsibility to take care of our planet. We can't take sides on a round world. Please recycle all the waste that you have as much as you can. Please don't put drugs down the toilet. Be careful when you're using chemicals like anti-clogging
like
chemicals
plumber,
like
there's
liquid plumber,
natural
Drano.
solutions to that.
Yes, and let's turn it around. Let's do some housekeeping because the earth is our home, and clean it up, and we can all live in a better world.
All right, beautiful. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and Alan Steinfeld is going to be here with Jim, the water guy, Artress. So stay tuned, and we should be back in about a minute or two.
Wow, that went so fast. That went so fast. I forgot this.
I know, it's always...
Okay. Welcome back here with the next part of the show for QUEST.TV. I'm Alan Steinfeld. I do a show called New Realities, which is seen every Monday night. Actually, you can see it tonight on MNN.org, Channel 57 in Manhattan. But right now, we're live at Earth Matters. We're going to pick up where that last conversation left off with Nimeesha and Eric. I'm here with Jim Artress. I call him Jim the Water Guy because Jim's filters are used by all the health food restaurants. All the major restaurants in New York use this filter system that is probably the best I've come across, and I've looked. So, Jim, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Alan.
Let's talk about first what the quality of New York City water is and what your systems do. So,
okay. Well, I think overall you can say that the quality of New York water is relatively high.
Like good quality.
Yes, it's good quality water compared to many other cities and municipalities. However, it does have its problems, and one of the major problems are the pipes, the infrastructure that's bringing the water to us.
Are they lead pipes or copper pipes?
Well, they go back 160 years, and there's no even records in some cases to say what parts of them are made out of. And I guess I've heard stories that they've even dug up some wooden pipes.
Wooden pipes?
Yeah,
wow. Isn't it?
But, in the past someplace.
But
so the pipes are slowly dissolving into the water is what's
Wow.
happening. And so you have this, I don't know if you've woke up in the morning and turned your bathtub on and you see a burst of brown that comes into the
That
bathtub.
is my bathtub. No, you've been to my apartment, I guess. No,
And
but-
basically that's rust and scale that's coming out of the infrastructure.
the infrastructure of the pipes,
Yes,
and
right.
of course, if you drink that
Right,
rust
yeah,
is.
because New York City water is basically rainwater. It's collected up in the reservoirs.
That's
it's
what they
not
said.
well water. It's coming from above ground. There is some circumstances up there. They're putting 16 tons of alum a day into the
Alum is
reservoirs.
what?
It's called a flocculating agent.
What is that?
It's used to bind the sediment and pull it down to the bottom so that only the water closer to the top comes through the pipes. But the pipes in the actual reservoirs themselves are like somewhat midway between the floor of the reservoir and the surface.
Uh-huh.
So you still get some sediment through that wouldn't normally be coming through.
And there's no natural filter system that the city has to. I mean, of course, they add chemicals like chlorine.
Yeah,
but
they
what
do.
What do they filter out the sediment or?
No, they don't. New York
They
is
do.
one of like 4 major municipalities in the whole country that does not have a filtration system.
Really?
Yeah, we call it water filter heaven.
Oh, that's why you. That's why, because this is like where your business comes in, right?
Yeah.
But so we should, because but the thing about the pipes, because the water probably is constantly running, you don't get that much sitting and residue because it's always moving.
Yeah, it's always
Is that-
moving. There's
But-
2 tunnels that are bringing it down here and
Uh-huh.
on its trek of almost averaging right around, I guess, somewhere between 80 to 90 miles.
Mhm.
And from what I hear, and again, I get a lot of hearsay and I've done some research on the internet, but what is holding the tubes together
Yeah.
is the pressure that's pushing out on them. If they ever would shut the valves off, which they're not going to do.
And they haven't done that in 100 years.
No, they're afraid they can't get them back open. And
Wait, if they
valves
shut the
haven't-
valves off, what would
Yeah.
happen?
the tunnels would collapse.
Wow.
In other words, they would. The only thing that's holding them together is the pressure that's pushing out.
Wow, that's so strange. You mean these tunnels are through rock, you're saying?
Some of them are rock, some of them are just ground material.
Wow.
But there's a third one being built now. And once that's completed,
Yeah.
that will solve the problem because then they can collapse number 1 and number 2 and rebuild them and resurface the interior.
One tunnel for all of New York City, bringing the water from
2.
the...
There's 2 now.
Yeah, but they're going to make one.
And there will be 3.
Well, let's look at your filters because I think, what you
Okay.
supply, and, water is 90,
Okay.
85% of our body and 85% of the earth itself. So
Okay.
this is, you don't want to put like any water into your body,
No.
like Nimeesha was saying.
Yeah.
And then
This filter setup is geared for specifically the problems with Manhattan and the boroughs. So the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens
you
are
want to put it
pretty
on the
much
table? Okay, great.
are pretty much all the same. They all have the same source.
So
of
this is
supply.
what you install in people's homes,
Yeah. In their
Okay.
kitchen, under their sink.
under their sink.
Up
So
high under the sink,
Right.
in an area that isn't being used.
Okay.
And it's just long enough that it fits the standard sink, so you get about a half inch to spare. So we're using every available inch, up high and underneath on the sink to filter
So
the water.
you-
Basically, again, the big problem is rust and scale and sediment that's in the water.
That's
so
a
that we start with number 1. The
Well,
water's-
what happens if rust? What happens if rust gets into our bodies?
What happens is basically the rust and scale moves through the body quite slowly, and it creates oxidative sites that attract free radicals.
Oh.
And so you would have to increase your vitamin intake if you're drinking New York City tap water with no filter.
Wow.
Um, and your liver, of course, has to deal with it. And if you take a
Wow.
look at that first filter, after
This is the
it's-
first filter.
yeah, and you let it run for like a month, and you take a look at it. The saying goes either buy a filter or be one.
Or be one.
And
Wow.
so your liver would literally have to deal with what
What does this look like after a month? Is it?
black.
It's completely black.
Yeah, well, it's
Wow.
dark brown. In 3 months, it'll be black. A shower
Wow.
filter will be black in a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. After
Yeah.
like gallons and gallons. Okay, so
Right. So you can see it. There's no doubt that you're removing
so,
a large amount of sediment that
so the water comes in through the pipes and passes through here and
Yeah.
it passes through this
then it-
first.
right.
And what is this filter? What
It's an inexpensive poly. It's a 1 micron poly.
Poly is what?
Polyester.
It's a polyester
Yeah,
filter.
yeah.
So
You
it's-
can do it in cotton. I have cotton ones, but I really don't like to use them because cotton will tend to grow bacteria, whereas poly.
But do you want a polyester filter? Aren't you afraid of getting those polyester chemicals into your body, especially if it's like hot water?
Yeah, it's a question. Everything has its upside and downside.
Right.
The downside with cotton, the natural fibers, a lot of the healthful people like to use them, but they do grow bacteria,
Okay.
and they'll get black real fast.
They will.
Yeah.
So you use a polyester filter to
Yeah.
filter the first level of water.
Right.
Then it comes out of there and goes into this filter.
Yeah, and that's a nano ceramic filter.
That's a ceramic.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
What do you
It's-
mean by nanoceramic?
It's nanotechnology. It's developed. It's really state of the art. I mean, it's a high end filter. It's an expensive filter compared to this one. This one is the cheap one. You're talking $10, $15. This one is like $50, $60.
Wait, this one is just to get rid of the
Yeah, the
very
dirt.
dense.
That's right.
The dirt.
Yeah, dirt. Right.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
it goes to this one, which is
Yeah.
finer tuned,
Yeah.
which gets
Yeah.
rid of what?
Okay, well then now you're going down to 0.2 of a micron.
0.2 of a
Yeah,
micron.
Right, and again, keep in mind, a human hair is 50 microns.
Wow.
You can see down to around 20 microns. So we're starting at 1 micron.
Okay.
Now we're down to 0.2 of a micron.
0.2 of a
And we're also employing electromagnetic adhesion, because when you take a molecule and when you make it as small as the nanoparticle size, which is 1/1,000,000th of a meter, a meter is approximately 3 feet, it changes the properties of the substance. Like iron, for instance, in the nanoparticle size will spontaneously combust. It will catch fire and burn up. It has so much surface area for such a small particle that it oxidizes instantly. And ceramic,
Yeah.
when they reduce it to the nano size, becomes electromagnetic.
It
becomes,
does?
Yeah, it becomes a magnet.
So water passing through the ceramic filter will.
It will magnetically pull
Uh
even biologicals. It will take viruses.
huh. It'll
It'll-
take viruses.
Yeah, viruses out of water. And viruses are very, very small.
Uh-huh.
A bacteria, it'll take like Giardia cysts,
Wow.
your E. coli,
Wow.
and
What-
it'll do it to the tune of 4 log on viruses and 6 log on bacteria. By log, I mean 99.99 is 4 log.
Will it also take the chlorine and the fluorine out of
Not
here?
yet.
Oh, okay. We're not
No,
there yet.
we want to leave
Okay.
leave the chlorine in all the way to the
Okay.
end.
Okay, so we'll take out
Because-
viruses, small
Yeah.
part, the smallest probably
Yeah.
pollutant
Yeah.
that there is. This second filter will take out the ceramic filter.
There may be something smaller. They're always making better microscopes.
Right,
but generally speaking,
And how long will this
You're down
filter
there.
last? This will last a month, the first one. Now this
Yeah.
one will last.
oh no, this will last like 6 months.
Oh, it will.
It'll get dark in a month.
Oh, okay, but it'll last. You don't have
Yeah.
to change it till 6
Normal
months.
family, like 3 to 4 people.
Okay, and this one will. Okay.
It'll last about the same.
Okay,
Yeah, you
okay.
change them maybe once a year. 6 months to a
Okay.
year, depending on how many people are in the suite, how much they're using the water.
So it moves from here to here, which
Yeah.
is fine tuning, to
Yeah.
this third one, which
Yeah,
is.
now this is a calcium-based carbon. This one is targeting heavy metals. It's targeting lead and fluoride and arsenic and certain volatile organics and synthetic organics. In other words, calcium-based carbon is about 1/6 as good at pulling chlorine and chloramines and the byproducts of the chlorination basis out that coconut shell is, which is the last one.
Wait,
So
this
it's
one, calcium base, is not as
It's
good
this
as
one.
this is calcium base,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
third
yeah.
one here.
Yeah, right.
Calcium base with carbon.
Yeah.
It's pulling out any residue of chemicals that might be left in the water.
More heavy metals.
Heavy metals. So
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
heavy metals,
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah.
These two won't pull out the lead.
No.
So
No.
and wait, just to back up, most people have like a regular filter, which is
They're
just
trying to do everything with 1 filter or 2 filters, and you can't really.
what will most like the Brita filter out.
Brita
Like-
is good on lead, but that's about it. That iron and rust and scale will go right through it.
Okay, and it won't filter out the bacteria that this one filters out.
No.
But this one, the third one in your
Yeah,
line here,
heavy
filters
metals.
heavy metals.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it will take fluoride out of the water,
It will.
whereas the Brita will not.
Okay.
Brita will take lead out,
Uh-huh.
but it's a mainstream filter, and they stay with fluoride in the water.
All right. So it passes through the heavy metals, and then when we get to the fourth one here,
Coconut shell.
which, okay, it's made of coconut shell.
Yeah, chlorine,
It'll take out chlorine.
chloramines, chloramines are byproducts of the chlorination process. Trihalomethane gases, it absorbs. It has a tremendous ability to absorb. If you've got a sick stomach and you came into the health food store here, there's a good chance that they would recommend taking a tablespoon of carbon and mixing it in water and drinking it.
Right.
And that's going to absorb the toxins in your stomach.
Okay.
Well, that's doing the same thing. This is going to absorb gases and toxins.
Wow.
The chloramines are at certain times the cities get bacteria that chlorine by itself won't kill. Chlorine is an antibiotic, and it's like
That's
anything
why they
else.
put it in the water.
Yeah, if you keep taking chlorine over and over again, or an antibiotic over and over again, the bugs are going to get smarter and figure out a way around them. Well, the same thing is kind of happening with the water. So in certain instances, cities, I'm not accusing New York City of it, because I don't know that they have or haven't, but use ammonia with the chlorine.
Some cities do that. Okay.
And that makes mustard gas.
They do.
Yeah, but they only use a little bit.
So we're taking in toxins from the city as well.
Yeah.
But all right. So this last one is
we'll absorb that. Right.
this last one takes in the final whatever's left.
Yeah, volatile organics,
Is there
VOCs.
So what comes out after these 4 filters
Yeah, you're
is
pretty
what?
comprehensive.
What comes out? Pure water?
Not pure, clean water.
Clean water. What's left in the water if it's not pure water?
The calcium and the magnesium.
That's okay?
Yeah.
Calcium and magnesium.
Right.
What would be the difference between that and reverse osmosis?
Okay, reverse osmosis would be more along the lines of now you're removing the calcium and the magnesium.
And so isn't that better, probably, or not necessarily?
I don't think so. I can do that. If I had one more onto here, I would go with one more that would take it beyond reverse osmosis.
It would take beyond. So,
why do you want? I don't like to use reverse osmosis in New York City. I do our ROs. I've probably installed 1,000 of them. But I don't like them for general use in New York City.
It's good to have you're saying it's it might be beneficial to have some magnesium, calcium in your
All the
water.
studies show that people who leave the minerals in their water have less heart disease than people that don't.
Because they're getting these essential minerals.
Yeah, even though they're not that assimilable by the body, they make the water less aggressive.
I see.
But by the same token, when you use like an RO system, you're wasting water. You're throwing off water. It's tied to your drain.
When you use what science system?
Like a reverse osmosis
Oh,
system.
I see.
So you're, in the long run, water's becoming more of a precious commodity, and it's a shame to take 3 gallons of water to have one that you can use.
Oh, I see. So reverse osmosis wastes 3 gallons of water.
2 gallons for one,
So
most of the time. Now, a lot of the
you're throwing
manufacturers
away
say,
that
well,
water.
we got that down to 1 and 1, which means that they've opened the holes up a little bit, and so they're wasting a little less, but it's a wasteful process.
Wow.
It has its place. I would use it on well water.
Can we tell people what I mean? Like what should we talk? Well, if you want this filter process,
CustomAirandWater.com.
CustomAirandWater.com.
Spelled out.
And this is probably what does it
$695, $700.
$695 with installation.
No. Yeah, it includes installation.
Includes your personal installation.
Yeah.
You get one of those that fit onto the end of this.
Yeah, installed.
And then and then the thing. Okay, great. And that's like the clean. This is what all the restaurants, all the health food stores. This is the.
Yeah, it's what I recommend for New York City. Again, if somebody wants ultra pure water, they want pharmaceutical grade water, we can do that. We use a process called deionization. So and then their meter's going to go to 0, and they've got ultra pure. But you need this first.
You need these 4 filters first.
Yeah, this is your base. Yeah.
And then for the shower, this is a great shower unit. You only have 2 of these filters.
2 on the shower, right?
Which 2 you have?
The first one?
Your basic poly.
Yeah, and then we have a combination between the nano and carbon on the top.
Because like Nimeesha was saying, you can take a lot of toxins through your skin.
And you can breathe them, too.
And you can breathe.
So, like, carbon will absorb gases. I mean, like chlorine when it's in its gaseous state. So you're going to absorb that chlorine, and again, you're in the nano ceramic thing here. This is a fancy filter.
How much is it to replace these after you?
The nano filter is kind of expensive. If you can find them on the internet, they offer them for like about $45. I sell them generally 3 for $100.
That's not bad.
These are inexpensive. These are like
inexpensive.
$5-6. And this is the one you're replacing mostly. You could use like 6 or 8 of these for one of these.
So how long you been in this business? Because it seems like you really covered it.
Do I have to tell you?
No, you don't have to tell me. But because you've done your homework. I mean, you had
29 years.
29 years in the water filter business, and you probably started with what, like a little rubber hose?
No, I started on a sailboat. I built a system on a sailboat.
You built a system on the sailboat, and you
I was
started
living on it, yeah.
and you started to just
And it was a
research.
reverse osmosis system that
It
I
was-
put on the sailboat.
And
Because I was taking water out of the lake, and what I was throwing away was going right back in the lake.
Great. So what's the
And I
future?
put it down below the beer cans and all the...
So do you think you perfected
Figure-
your system, or are you still researching more?
well, constant research. This stuff constantly comes out. But I think for New York City water, that's excellent quality water that you've got. coming out of that thing.
Great. Any question, Nimeesha? Come. I always like when Nimeesha sits next to me anyway, because she's a water expert,
Great.
and I'm sure you have some questions. Go ahead.
You don't have granulated activated carbon?
Yeah,
You do?
granulated activated carbon would be this one.
Okay.
But the difference when you take and make a carbon block, which has been the state of the art up to this point, okay, and we still use it, in certain applications.
Okay.
They have to use binders to put to make the carbon block, and the
see.
binders cover up 70% of the surface area of the carbon, just to give it shape and form. So at best, you've only got 30% exposure. When you use a ceramic filter like this one, now we're into powder, PAC, powder activated carbon, and powder is a smaller diameter, vastly increased surface area, and it's held to the cloth by electromagnetic adhesion, so you have 100% exposure of the carbon to the water. So it's immensely more effective.
Okay, and is it charged positively? Because I read that when it has to be charged in order for it to attract the negative ions from the halogens.
Yeah, but I think more often than not, you want like a negative charge. Most of your free radicals are positively charged, so you'd want a negative charge. To do that effectively, you can do a little bit of that with filters, but to do that effectively, you need more equipment. You could do it.
There's
but
something about the spin of water, that's when three streams cross and you get this really negatively charged water from the ground.
Right.
How do you, because it's sort of dead,
Well,
the water.
see,
If it's
here's the thing. There's a lot of polished techniques that you can do.
Yeah.
But we've all heard the saying, you can't shine, shit. Okay?
Oh, okay.
In other words, so
I
why don't
heard
we
that
take the
saying,
water
but I
and
get it.
upgrade it, to the point where what we're doing here, we're mainly concerned with contaminants. We're mainly
Right.
concerned,
Like you.
there's many things you can do. If you want to spend $10,000 in your bathroom on your shower, I'll make it negatively charged, positively charged, however you want it. But if you want to spend $300 and get clean water that doesn't have lead in it and chlorine that you're breathing into your lungs, then let's do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like building race cars. How fast you want to go and how much you want to spend.
I want the best race car out there.
In the beginning of your conversation, you said that the New York City water is not filtered, and there are different rules for surface water than for deep aquifers.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
rule for surface water is that you don't filter it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of the few cities, true, I know that, but by the same token, and again, I like New York City's water, and I don't mean to be down on the water department, because to me they're doing much more than a response. If they get something wet to your doorstep,
Right.
they've done a good job, okay?
Right.
But this is the first year that New York City did fail the federal
Oh,
requirements.
really? Why?
Yeah.
What would they find?
Too much sediment.
Oh, really?
And so the feds are on Mr. Bloomberg to build a $10 billion treatment plant up in the Bronx.
Right.
I don't know what the status of it is currently, but I know it was sediment is the problem, because sediment has a tendency to keep bacteria around it also.
Yeah.
So this is the first year that more attention has been brought to possible filtration than.
And the important I think the main thing is that the water leaving the reservoir, that's where they test it, is not
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah, right.
the same water that's coming
Yeah,
out of your tap.
you're right.
Because
Yeah.
the plumbing system is so old.
Right.
We live in a
Like you
very
said,
old
yeah.
city.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
treated water pipes are right next to the sewage pipes. And
Yeah,
you
right.
don't know
That's right.
what is
That's right.
deteriorated.
If they get a leak,
Yeah.
out of
Right.
either one of them, you could have bacteria growing in.
Right.
So, to me, it only makes sense to filter water, and what we call this is point of use. It's actually the closer that you can get the filter to where you're actually drinking the water, the better. I mean, we've had, opportunities to do whole buildings and stuff, but you can never do the whole building as good as you can do it right before you take that shower or right before you take a drink of it.
Well, what do you think of this for? Have you seen anything like this before?
I want one.
Of course, but have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
Isn't this the state-of-the-art filter?
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's...
They work really well. They're inexpensive.
Yes.
They're inexpensive to service, to maintain.
Well,
They're practical.
Consider what you spend on bottled water that has all that plastic in it,
Yeah.
you know. This is much better than bottled water. I mean, even if it's...
Yeah, it is. Like, I don't know, I'd like to plug one thing. There's a movie, a documentary out called Flow. I recommend anybody should see it.
It's a beautiful...
Yeah, and it talks about the plastic bottles and the problems with it.
Yeah.
And there's only one person policing the whole plastic bottle industry.
Wow.
So there's not like a whole lot of governorship going on there.
Well, we'll do more shows about water because you are both experts, and I love water. Water's like
It's very important.
It's my favorite drink. Is water.
It should be. That's what should be everybody's favorite drink.
It's the only thing I drink when I go out to a bar. Really, so I'll have a glass of water. But I've been talking to Jim Artress and Nimeesha. Who? What's your website again? Because
I don't have one yet.
She doesn't have one yet. But that's okay. You can email me at newrealities@earthlink.net. But I'm talking to Jim Artress, the water guy. His website, customairandwater.com. Really the best water filter system you're going to come across anywhere, probably.
I have an email address.
Okay,
if
give me
anybody wants to email me, it's Nimeesha, like my first name, at yahoo.com.
Right. Thanks, Nimeesha. I'm Alan Steinfeld. Email me at newrealities@earthlink.net and let me know what you think. Newrealities.com, my website. And Jim, you have any late information?
Oh, we thank you for your time of watching and listening to our little spiel on water.
Do you have any phone number?
646
Yeah.
325 4339.
Thank you. And this really, if you're going to be in New York City, you want the best, you want to take care of yourself. Thank you for watching Quest TV and New Realities, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.